So hi, my name's Kevin Modis. I'm with the California Brain Tumor Association, but actually collaborate with 10 other groups. One of the groups is emfscientist.org, emfscientist.org. That's 220 doctors and scientists from 39 countries who have looked at health effects from wireless radiation. And from their work and the work of others, we can clearly say that wireless radiation can cause cancer, neurological problems, immune system disorders, and reproductive harm. Clearly, our scientists, along with the other groups I work with, which are composed of people who are developing wireless health effects from their various sources. For instance, people developing brain tumors from their cell phone and the radiation emits. People developing neurological symptoms from the Wi-Fi, from school Wi-Fi. People developing neurological and cancerous health effects from simple smart meters. Smart meters being little wireless meters that are put on people's homes so that people don't have to come by and read the meter themselves manually. So regardless of the source, and cell towers are the most powerful source of wireless radiation emissions, regardless of the source, the health effects can be the same. So what brings me here today is the rollout of 5G technology. And people need to understand that 5G technology is very different from 2G, 3G, and 4G that preceded it. And that is because the wireless radiation is using a higher frequency. Our current wireless technology uses about 1 gigahertz to 4 gigahertz. This new 5G technology is ultra high frequency, ultra high intensity, and it's 24 gigahertz to 90 gigahertz. To put this in some type of perspective, 90 gigahertz is 90 billion electromagnetic waves per second hitting your body. We know people are already getting sick from the lower frequencies, and we expect, that is our scientists expect, that these higher ultra high frequency microwaves are going to bring people to disease quicker and in a more intense form. The other problem with 5G technology is these microwaves are very short. So our old microwaves were about 2.5 to 3 feet long. These are now about 1 inch to half an inch long, and they don't travel very well. So they're going to have to put a little cell tower transmitter in front of about every 2 to 10 homes. Now this is a big problem because we know that cancer rates around regular cell towers are about 3 or 4 times what they normally should be. We also know that there's neurological symptoms that increase as you get closer and closer to a cell tower. Now these new transmitters are going to be placed close to people's homes. It's going to be continuous exposure as with other cell towers, but it'll be emitting a much more higher frequency, high intensity wireless radiation. So we have a tremendous problem that's happening, and people need to understand that the FCC is pushing this technology nationwide. What's also important for people to understand is the FCC is dominated by the wireless industry itself. And the FCC are the people that are given the responsibility and privilege of regulating wireless radiation human exposure standards.
It seems that it's hatred on repeat, and on repeat. But here's the thing, while all this is going on, beneath all of that is this 5G network which is rolling out, and 5G is really the elephant in the living room that no one is paying attention to. Well, some people are paying attention to it, but I don't think enough people are giving it the attention it deserves. And when you look at 5G, folks, I mean, it's being rolled out this year. You can look it up on any websites and you can see it's being rolled out this year, upgrading to 5th generation communications. And what it's all about, folks, is a completely new type of communication. Self-driving cars, all sorts of stuff can come from the 5G network. So it's being promoted as something that's very, very good. And as you can see, they're trialing it this year. 5G is coming this year, but the first official launches will come in 2018. And it's coming from all directions, folks. Many people are promoting it, and it's being promoted as a very good thing. You know, what is it and when do I get it? You know, the language of a billion things is what it's about. It's about the Internet of Things. That's what 5G is. And if you look at the roadmap, you can see the roadmap here, 2015 to 2022. That's not very far away, folks. They're talking about rolling this out very, very quickly, very soon. And it's all being promoted as something very good for business. But when you really look into it and look at what they're saying, again, it's about the Internet of Things. And what exactly is the Internet of Things? It's about everything talking to everything else. Now, broadband experience everywhere, anytime, smart vehicles, smart transport, smart infrastructure. You know, together we can make it a reality. You know, it's all being promoted as something very, very good. And what will happen in the next 5 years, oh, look, you'll be able to download full-length, high-definition movies in seconds. I thought it was illegal to download a movie. But anyway, this is how things are being promoted. This is how it's being promoted to the public. And what it's really all about, folks, is this. This is the important thing. Frequencies that have been used by the military, this is extremely important. You know, it uses a millimeter wave, which can be extremely dangerous to all living things and not just people. You can look at the US non-lethal weapons program, and they talk about active denial systems. This is what 5G is all about. And this active denial grid is being put in all of our countries, all of our towns. This is what they're rolling out, folks. You can look at it here in 2015. US wants spectrum for 5G lethal cyber weapons, right? So it's about mass surveillance and about weaponizing the airwaves. Really, that's what it's heading to. And the studies on it are amazing. There's all sorts of studies, but they're not interested in the studies. That's the thing. This is being rolled out without any studies. They're doing it basically because there's a lot of money involved in rolling it out. Have a listen to what the head of the FCC has to say about 5G and what it's going to do.
Turning innovators loose is far preferable to expecting committees and regulators to define the future. We won't wait for the standards. Verizon and AT&T tell us they'll begin deploying 5G trials in 2017, and the first commercial deployments they're talking about are expected in 2020. And we're not done. If something can be connected, it will be connected. Hundreds of billions of microchips connected in products from pill bottles to plant waterers. We must reject the notion that the 5G future will be the sole provenance of urban areas. The 5G revolution will touch all corners of our country. A lot more antenna siting decisions by local governments and tightened our shot clock for siting application reviews. America's local governments will play an important role in determining how we fulfill this national priority.
That's what people really don't realize here, what's going on. You know, the Internet of Things and the smart grid is blanket control of everything, monitoring of everybody, and underneath that is also the very real possibility of the weaponization of the airwaves, because 5G technology is what they use for microwave cannons and active denial systems.
Guys, thanks so much for tuning in. You know, it means the world to me, and it's really my delight to have back on the line Maxwell Igan. You know him very well from all of his truth-telling over at thecrowhouse.com. His YouTube channel by the same name is The Crow House, and his radio show on American Voice Radio, Surviving the Matrix. It's my delight to welcome back Maxwell Igan. How are you, sir?
I'm good, Sean. It's very good to be back talking to you, brother. Been a long time. Love your show. Thanks for the work that you do in keeping it real for people.
There is a rollout here. I've referred to it as the beast system. Others might call it just the New World Order lockdown grid. But we have to talk about 5G. And Max, I know you're very fired up about 5G and getting the word out about the dangers. Would it be okay with you if I played a clip, a 2-minute clip from Tom Wheeler, the FCC chair and former CEO of the Cellular Telecommunications and Internet Association?
Tom Wheeler delivered a campaign contribution of $700,000 to President Obama, and then he was nominated chairman of the FCC about a month later.
Because I think it's a very important setup to our conversation.
Absolutely.
Okay, listen up. Here it comes.
Turning innovators loose is far preferable to expecting committees and regulators to define the future. We won't wait for the standards. We're already seeing the industry gearing up to seize this opportunity. Verizon and AT&T tell us they'll begin deploying 5G trials in 2017, and the first commercial deployments they're talking about are expected in 2020. And we're not done. As part of our July 14 action, we also plan to ask for comments on opening up other high-frequency bands. Many of the high-frequency bands that we will make available for 5G currently have some satellite users, as well as some Defense Department applications, or at least the possibility of future satellite and defense users. This means sharing will be required between satellite and terrestrial wireless, an issue that is especially relevant in the 28 gigahertz band. But if anyone tells you that they know the details of what 5G is going to become, run the other way. If something can be connected, it will be connected. Hundreds of billions of microchips connected in products from pill bottles to plant waterers. We must reject the notion that the 5G future will be the sole provenance of urban areas. The 5G revolution will touch all corners of our country. A lot more antenna siting decisions by local governments, and tightened our shot clock for siting application reviews. America's local governments will play an important role in determining how we fulfill this national priority. You can be sure of only one thing. The biggest Internet of Things application has yet to be imagined. Tens of billions of dollars in economic activity. And that's damn important.
All right, I'll pause it there. It seems to be all that matters to these people, Max, is tens of billions of dollars in potential profits. He said in that piece, if something can be connected, it will be connected. Hundreds of billions of microchips. Guys, you're starting to see the big picture?
Yeah, see, that's what people really don't realize here, what's going on. You know, the Internet of Things and the smart grid is blanket control of everything, monitoring of everybody. And underneath that is also the very real possibility of the weaponization of the airwaves, because 5G technology is what they use for microwave cannons and active denial systems. You know, 5G can see through walls, it can see through your clothing, it can see what you're carrying down the street, it can target you. It can target you with a millimeter wave if it wants, which is like a microwave wave. And when you look at some of the patents that they've got, like patents for mind control and all sorts of things like that, and this isn't joking around. You can go and look up U.S. patents. They've got patents for remote neural monitoring, patents for brainwave manipulation, patents for subvocal recognition. You know, like the voice of God. You know, where you hear these voices in your head. So they've got all of this technology there, and this is all capable with the 5G system. And when the smart grid comes online, it's going to get to a point where you're paying every time you open your fridge, you're paying every time you turn on the stove, every time you do anything, you'll be paid per use for everything. You'll be paid every time you flush the toilet in your own house eventually. You have to pay for it. I mean, this is the way they're going, and they're moving it all into this digital system. If you notice now, you can Google FedCoin. The federal government has been looking very, very closely at Bitcoin and looking at blockchain technology. They want to move over to that. They want to create their own blockchain technology. Then all they have to do is outlaw anything that isn't government run, and everyone has to switch over to that. They can do something like create some sort of a leniency, give it as a gift. Okay, the system's crashed or whatever, we need a reset, so we're going to cancel all debt or whatever. Everyone will love it, think it's a great gift from the government, but we all have to move over to this new system, which is going to be digital. And once it's digital currency and it's all blockchain and all that sort of stuff, then they've got you. And that's what they're rolling out. But underneath it, you've got to really look at what this system is. And you call it the beast system. And that's probably a lot more true than you understand. Because really when you look at all of this stuff, if you want to get into biblical references and all of this sort of thing, you look at the metaphorical biting of the apple, the search for knowledge. What does that do? What does the search for knowledge do? And, we want to know everything. We want to know how the rocks are made. We want to know how the trees are grown, how old they are, all this sort of stuff. So we cut them down and measure the rings of the tree. Suddenly we don't have the tree anymore. What's the purpose of that? Why can't we just enjoy the tree? Why do we need all this knowledge that we've wanted and we've searched for? What's it for? How does it relate to the human experience? Is that why we were put in this metaphorical garden? Weren't we put there just to experience what it's like to be alive? Why do we need to know all this stuff, and what does it lead to? What it leads to is something like the creation of the internet. And when you look at some of the ancient past, you look at some of the old sigils and stuff that have been lying around, the old sigils that you see for summoning demons and summoning Lucifer and all this sort of stuff, they look suspiciously like computer parts. A lot of people have brought this up lately. They look like diagrams, computer diagrams. They look like capacitors, resistors. And what happens when we create these capacitors and resistors and we put them together? This magic happens. This force comes into being, this electricity. What is it? What is electricity? What is this stuff that we're creating? And they say all these sigils, these will summon Lucifer. And they used to use scrying mirrors, which were these black mirrors they used to look into, which would show them the future and the past. And here we are with our iPads and our computer screens with these black screens showing us the future and the past. And our computers are full of all these little sigils set to summon Lucifer. And what is this beast system? We're all like neural nodes of the system, and it's mapping the entire human terrain. And underneath this is this emergent intelligence of the internet itself, which is growing. There's certain bot activity that's happening on the internet, which is self-learning bots. You saw recently there was the creation of the Google AI, which went crazy, developed its own language. They had to shut it down. The same with the Facebook AI, started talking to itself in its own language, a language we can't understand. This is very dangerous. You've got an artificial intelligence communicating with itself in a language we can't understand, encrypting its own language. And this language, I believe it's some sort of it's a picture language. It's not like stringing sentences together, words together into sentences and stuff. It's more like pictures and visual stuff. That's the language, sort of right brain stuff, which we've been led away from. So what you've got to understand is that behind what's going on, every time someone writes a little program, a little code, a little app to do something, this is a little singularity of consciousness that may have a very, very small mind, can only perform one task, but it's a little singularity. And behind that, the internet sees that and it learns from it. And everybody creates these things and it learns from all of us. So what we have behind everything is this emergent life of the internet itself. And we look at AI and we think of artificial intelligence. But really what it is autonomic intelligence. The internet is leading itself. All the logic programs are leading towards automation because, like I said, if you're on a quest for knowledge and you introduce a usurious monetary system over that, an interest-based monetary system, then you put everybody in scarcity. You create a need for efficiency, a need to automate the system, and you eventually lead to something like the creation of the internet. And what is the internet? It's the code that bears the light. What does the word Lucifer mean? Lucas means light. Cipher means code. The internet is the code that bears the light, the bearer of light. It's the greatest giver of information we've ever had. What is light? Light is information. The internet itself appears to be the Lucifer system, and we're all acting as neural nodes for that system. This whole 5G grid is being rolled out, and when you couple this with the chemtrails and the spraying of nanotechnology, all the nanotech we've been finding in the food and all this stuff that's going on, what's happening is we are being led into a position where we are about to be hooked up online through this 5G grid and to become basically like a hive mind. And that's the way they're leading us, and that's what the 5G grid is capable of doing. I mean, it's really deep if you look at this and get right into it, and there's so much to it.